A serial murder case has gripped the attention of people in Thailand. The number of victims continues to rise.
Police say the victims were either known as friends or were close to her.
The person has been found to be responsible of cold-blooded murder of as many as 14 people.
The woman in white, dubbed Cyanide by local media, travelled with her alleged final victim, Cre8live, to this pier.
Police allege she killed 14 people in 8 provinces over 8 years.
She borrowed money from her victims, poisoned them, and looted their belongings to fund her addiction.
This probably is the record for a serial murderer in Thailand.
On July 7, 2015, a woman passed away from acute heart failure in Bangkok after her 36-year-old friend Sararat, nicknamed who she often lent money to, picked her up at the airport. The woman lived abroad with her husband and was visiting Thailand. After she passed away, the woman's mother told officials did not attend the funeral or cremation of her friend. Then took over the affairs of her daughter's assets, and when the mother contacted her to ask about her daughter's assets, she reportedly spoke to her harshly and said that her daughter's husband asked her to sell them. At the time, no one batted an eye at the death, as it appeared to be from natural causes. Over the course of the next 8 years, 13 people would be good one moment, then dead of heart-related issues the next, just like her. 8 years with 13 deaths in a population of around 71 million doesn't strike one as suspicious, but one thing stood out between all of them. However, that connection was yet to be made. Authorities nor citizens ever once considered the idea of a serial killer slaughtering their loved ones and escaping without a trace. Worst yet, the biggest serial killer in the country's history, and the first of their kind.
The person has been found to be, responsible of cold-blooded murder of as many as 14 people. And you may know this probably is the record for a serial murderer in Thailand, for that matter.
But one incident began unraveling the deadly and sadistic web of one woman who preyed not on strangers, but her friends. The date is April 14th, 2023. And a 32-year-old wealthy friend and mother known as Cre8live traveled together to release fish into the Mekong River as part of a Buddhist ritual said to bring good karma and protection. Sadly, karma turned its fangs on one of them because only one left that river alive. After releasing the fish, Cre8live unexpectedly collapsed by the riverbank and later died despite the efforts of bystanders to save her life. Was nowhere to be found. What's strange is that Cre8live's money, phone and expensive designer bag were allegedly missing.
In April 2023, Cre8live joined her friend who she had known for a decade long, on a merit-making trip. Cre8live suddenly collapsed. Bystander tried to help her, but was nowhere to be found. Cre8live's money, phone and expensive designer bag was also missing.
And Cre8live were friends for over a decade, so you can begin to imagine the heartache she was feeling. Well, the heartache one would expect her to feel as such a good friend. Autopsy results showed heart failure as Cre8live's cause of death. That conclusion wasn't sitting right with Cre8live's 63-year-old mother. Her mother told reporters she was shocked about the news of her daughter's death and cried to the point of screaming.
Since she died, I feel a great loss. I lost the one I loved the most in my life.
It came as a surprise, because her daughter was healthy and in good shape when she left for the trip. A mother always has their intuition about their child, and hers was telling her that her daughter was murdered. On April 19, 2023, she filed a complaint at the Central Investigation Bureau after suspecting foul play in the death of her daughter. Was quick to deny ever being with Cre8live at the time of her death. Desperate for answers, the mother asked a family friend to help bring the case to a higher level of police attention. Making the location of Coy's vehicle his main priority, that friend posted a picture online, which quickly got traction, and where it was found only confirmed the mother's suspicions. The address of the house where the vehicle was parked belonged to a policewoman who knew Am's ex-husband. An autopsy would reveal to law enforcement that there was merit in what the mother and relatives were saying, because medical examiners found fatal levels of cyanide in the victim's blood, stomach, and liver. Experts believed she ingested the poison in the alleged killer's car after it was mixed into her meal and water. With police now convinced something suspicious might have caused her death, they began digging into the case. Getting a hold of surveillance footage that captured the entire ordeal, it not only debunked Am's claims of never being with Coy when she died, but also exposed other shocking details. In the footage, Am and Coy are seen walking in the direction of the riverbank to release the fish. Am crosses the road to allegedly go to the bathroom, while Coy continues down the stairs to release the fish. A short while after, Coy collapses to the ground. Am returns, sees her friend unresponsive on the floor, and gives an almost reluctant wave for help, but then does something very strange and heartless for a friend. She leaves without even checking on Coy. What's more, the items reported missing from Coy were taken by none other than the person she considered her friend, Am. The valuables were reportedly worth 154,630 baht, which translates to about $4,500.
This is the footage that helped lead police to Thailand's worst suspected serial killer. The woman in white, dubbed Am Cyanide by local media, travelled with her alleged final victim Coy to this pier to release fish as part of a Buddhist ritual. CCTV shows Coy approach the water's edge alone shortly before collapsing. Am waves some bystanders over, but then appears to flee the scene, allegedly with the victim's belongings.
I want to ask her, why did she have to do this to my mum?
Coy died in hospital and traces of cyanide were found in her blood.
These revelations were exposed when the Crime Suppression Division police, armed with an arrest warrant on April 25th, arrested Am at about 11 a.m. at the government office complex in Bangkok and detained her at the Central Women Correctional Institution. Am had a bottle of cyanide in her possession when apprehended. At the time of her arrest, Am was pregnant, but later had a miscarriage while behind bars.
Thai police have arrested a woman suspected of murdering people with cyanide. 36-year-old Sararat Rangsiwuthaporn was taken into custody on Wednesday and refused bail.
The following day of her arrest, investigators made their way to her and her ex-husband's home, where they both stayed together. More damning evidence was located. Canvassing in and around the house, various pieces of evidence were found, including a medicine bottle with liquids inside it, a white bag with 3 packages inside it, and a lot of empty pill capsules, among other things. Stored inside a box, they located the stolen items that were missing from Coy at the time of her murder. Police also collected fingerprints and other evidence from Am's Toyota 4Runner. The story behind her arrest sent shockwaves through the country, prompting other families whose loved ones died in a similar fashion to contact authorities. This is when police realized that they weren't dealing with an isolated situation, but a serial killer on a scope the country had never seen before.
Sararat became a suspect following the suspicious death on 14th of April of one of her friends after they had been traveling together. Police say a full autopsy report indicated the victim's body had traces of cyanide. Since then, families of earlier victims have come forward, suggesting the deaths of their loved ones were also suspicious.
Pulling files of past cases of healthy persons dying of heart-related issues, they found that 13 people who fit the criteria had one thing in common. Right before dropping dead, they were on a trip with Am. Over the next 3 months, police launched one of the biggest investigations they ever embarked on, interviewing as many as 900 witnesses and compiling a case file spanning 26,500 pages. Within those cases was one victim, a policewoman named Nipa. The investigation uncovered surveillance footage dating back to April 1st, 2023, showing a startling yet frightening sight that much resembled what happened to Koi. Am and Nipa are seen sitting on a bench. Then Nipa begins to slump forward before curling up and planting to the floor face first. Unresponsive. What happened next was even more disturbing. Am, as if not having a care in the world, looked at her friend Nipa and just nonchalantly continued talking on her phone before walking away. No attempt to even assist her. With the mounting evidence displaying a horrific trend, police speculated that Am was not just a remorseless friend, but also the person who poisoned them in the first place so that they would die. They nicknamed her Am Cyanide, referencing her weapon of choice to commit her alleged murders.
A serial murder case has gripped the attention of people in Thailand. The number of victims continues to rise as police arrest a woman arrested of carrying out a spate of cyanide poisonings.
Police say the victims were either known as friends or were close to her, and that evidence so far suggests there may be 13 victims. She has denied all allegations.
With what they now knew, investigators realized they had dropped the ball on doing a thorough autopsy in past cases, which resulted in the crimes progressing over the past 8 years. Backtracking their steps, they pulled the autopsy files of those past 13 cases to find that cyanide was found in their system at the time of death. For the remaining victims where cyanide wasn't found in the autopsy report, police asked forensic doctors to examine pictures and give their expert opinion. From their findings, they concluded the nails, hands, and lips of the victims had turned black from being poisoned, and the poison that made bodies look like this was cyanide.
The fact that she got away for so long, it's been nearly 10 years for this 14 cases. It means the justice system, the forensic science, the local police were really not up to the task. It took this last case, or the latest case, which became the last case, before all was exposed. But for 9 years, 13 people prior to the latest victim died under a mysterious circumstances, and yet nothing was done. There was no case.
There was another angle that plagued the minds of investigators. Cyanide is strictly controlled in Thailand, and just possession alone of the substance can result in up to 2 years in prison. The drug works by depriving the body's cells of oxygen, potentially leading to heart attacks. Police found that Am had allegedly bought cyanide from an unidentified company whose factory is located in Bangkok's Lat Krabang district. One person named Kantima saw the news and reached out to police to help with the case. The uniqueness of their knowledge was due to her revealing she was the rare survivor of Am cyanide. According to her, she lent 250,000 baht to Am. She told police that Am gave her pills she described as cough medicine at a department store during their outing together. While driving out of the mall, Kantima felt a tightness in her chest and tried to call Am for help, but she just hung up the phone. Fortunately, Kantima got through to the hotline for medical emergencies. She began vomiting, stopped breathing, and passed out. Her heart stopped. Luckily, a doctor managed to resuscitate her in time. With all this, police were certain Am was the culprit and charged her with 75 plus charges, including attempted murder, premeditated murder, robbery resulting in death, adulterating food or drink resulting in death, and forging documents.
Am Cyanide grew up here in Kanchanaburi, and 2 of her suspected victims also come from this province. But her alleged crime spree spreads so much further. Police allege she killed 14 people in 8 provinces over 8 years, which may be why it took so long for anyone to put the pieces together.
Am is facing more than 75 charges and, if found guilty, could be sentenced to death.
The deputy police chief held a news conference where he revealed the disturbing truths uncovered by their investigation. They traced her murderous tendencies to two things, the first being the twisted nature of her mind, and the second, her gambling addiction. She was overburdened with debts and loans due to this. Looking into her finances, police found a trail of about 78 million baht circulated through bank accounts operated by Cyanide. That translates to over $2 million. To overcome her financial problems, borrowed money from her friends. When they asked for it back, she would murder them, stealing their belongings in the process. The three main methods she employed to commit murder were taking the victim out to a meal before poisoning them with cyanide, then bringing them home where they eventually died, picking up the victim from their home, poisoning them and leaving them behind to die, or sending cyanide-spiked diet pills to victims' homes, ultimately leading to their death.
All of the victims had one thing in common.
Am got loans from them. Am owed them. When she didn't have money to pay them back, she started to kill.
Cyanide was confirmed as the weapon and financial gain was identified as the motive. Authorities revealed Am was drowning in online gambling debt. She borrowed money from her victims, poisoned them, and looted their belongings to fund her addiction. Her killing spree allegedly began in 2015, with police uncovering evidence of her purchasing cyanide online.
As if realizing they just apprehended the deadliest serial killer in their country's history wasn't enough to come to terms with, there was more to the case that exposed corruption and involvement of the police and judicial system. Police suspected Am might have had an accomplice, as she committed the alleged crimes on weekends when she traveled with the suspected victims to cloud the evidence trail. Turns out, they were right. Investigations pointed the finger at two alleged accomplices. The first was her ex-husband Withun, who was a former high-ranking senior police officer. Finding out a warrant was out for his arrest, he surrendered to the police on May 3, 2023, after which he was fired from the force with numerous charges related to the killings, including fraud, embezzlement, receiving stolen property, jointly forging official documents, and jointly using forged official documents. He was suspected of helping Am commit the alleged murders. One in particular caught officers' attention, the murder of Am's ex-boyfriend on March 12, 2023. He reportedly told police that Am asked him to pick up her boyfriend's white Chevrolet Captiva vehicle, after which they then pledged it as loan collateral, but not before they drove around collecting debts from those who had borrowed money from her now-deceased boyfriend. The 35-year-old boyfriend had passed out after having a meal with Am at a restaurant. Rescuers rushed him to the hospital where he was treated and later discharged, but unfortunately succumbed to the poison later that day. Even though her ex-husband was cooperative with police, he was adamant he wasn't colluding with Am. Well, in another shocking twist, his mistress with the alias Noina was interviewed by detectives and spilled the beans about a possible link to one of the deaths. It appears the dynamic between their relationships wasn't one of normalcy. First, it was Am living with her ex-husband while with her new boyfriend, and now the mistress disclosed that she, Am, and her ex-husband were all close. She further told cops they went to a resort in another town together in an attempt to establish an alibi for Am and show she was not near the crime scene at the time. The disturbing details didn't end there. On April 26, 2023, a day after Am was arrested, an insurance agent gave information to police about a health and life insurance package that Am wanted to buy for her since-deceased lover. The insurance agent, whose name was withheld, said she was a school classmate of Am. She stated that in early January 2023, she and Am spoke about life insurance packages. Am wanted to buy an insurance package for her boyfriend, who was then still alive, but claimed he was not healthy. She looked at a policy with a premium of 100,000 baht a year. According to the agent, Am told her she wanted insurance benefits amounting to 7 million to go to a beneficiary she claimed was an adopted daughter, and said she had no problem paying the high premium. When there was no further progress in issuing the insurance policy, the agent tried to contact her boyfriend, but Am refused to allow her to talk with him, saying they had a quarrel over money. The agent only later learned the boyfriend had died, and Am was accused of serial murders. The insurance package was never signed, so it seems Am had all intention to murder her boyfriend and receive a big payout. The second accomplice who was arrested was Am's lawyer Thanika, who investigators state told Am's ex-husband to hide the stolen items to help Am escape legal action. Both her ex-husband and her lawyer soon posted bail of 100,000 baht, with the ex-husband being required to wear an electronic monitoring bracelet. With all three suspects facing charges and impending punishment if convicted, they all pled not guilty to the allegations. Their trial dates were conducted from July 4, 2024 to September 12, 2024. On November 20, 2024, Sararat, aka Am Cyanide, was sentenced to death for poisoning and killing her friend Koi. Her ex-husband was sentenced to a reduced prison sentence of 1 year and 4 months after he cooperated, while her lawyer was sentenced to 2 years in prison for aiding her. They were also ordered to pay about 2.3 million baht in compensation to Koi's family. However, Am may have even more financial woes coming her way. In a shocking turn of events, her lawyer, who was previously adamant her client was innocent, announced her plans to sue her former client for failing to protect her and withholding crucial information. In a Facebook post on her account on November 24, 2024, she stated, "Today I came to talk with some seniors, and tomorrow I'm going to withdraw from Am's case. I will also sue her as well." In an interview, she addressed the falling out with her former client, stating that there were disagreements with her client over legal strategies. Koi's mother, who sat in the courtroom, couldn't hold back her anger looking at Am, who was smiling when she was sentenced to death. She was satisfied with ending the lives of those who trusted her and showed no remorse for the pain she left in their family.
What was Sararat's reaction when the sentence was read out in court today?
Actually, the Thai press were amused or disturbed that actually she did smile after the verdict was read. As we all know, there are 13 more cases. They also noted that she didn't appear remorseful at all.
With the 14 additional cases linked to Am, investigations continue, but given her fatal conviction, the end result is more for the families to have closure that their loved one's killer was found and persecuted. And so, the era of Thailand's deadliest serial killer and the first ever woman serial killer, Am Cyanide, comes to an end. I pray the families of those who died at her hands overcome their grief, and the victims rest in peace. For more true crime documentaries, check out one of the videos on the screen. This has been an episode of Mystories, where true stories from around the world come to life. What stories come next? Like, share, comment and subscribe to never miss what intriguing chronicles will be told.